Kawan bang woman. Bang woman doang bawa. Mama? Dari ya?
Hello.
Yes, hello everyone. Please hold on while we are trying to get ready. Thank you very much. Okay, we can hear you.
Every generation carries the power to shape the future. But when generations unite, change becomes unstoppable. Welcome to Hesed World, where youth empowerment begins, where generations connect, and where change is ignited. Hesed World is a Swiss association headquartered in international Geneva, with a mission to equip young Africans with the skills and opportunities to secure or create meaningful work and build their own futures. Guided by global partnership and African empowerment, we are implementing pilot programs in Nigeria, Kenya, and Malawi. What we do? We focus on 3 key areas. 1. Empower youth, equipping young people with skills and mentorship to succeed. 2. Bridge generations, connecting youth with global professionals for guidance and support. 3. Ignite change. We support youth-led entrepreneurship and leadership across sub-Saharan Africa, equipping young people with the skills and pathways to secure or create meaningful work, reduce migration pressure,
All right. Yeah. Just any seconds. Huh?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to upload a video on Hesed World. Then we'll have the time. That's for the speakers.
Okay. Microphone. with brilliant, talented, and resilient young people who are ready to thrive, if given the right opportunity, support, and mentorship.
You go to university, you study a particular subject, and then you're stuck with it. But one thing for me in going to university is not that you have a degree in a certain subject, but that you learn to learn.
One of the things that I think is most important as I reflect back on my career is developing the ability to listen. Listen to the people around you, listen to your inner voice, listen to the guidance that you get and how you could apply it to become a better person, a more productive professional.
Humans just check the response. So never, in that example, you should never ever let the system autonomously just make the decision. Okay? You should always have a look at the output, and you would say you want to interrogate the machine. This is what human in the loop is, that they refer to. You would interrogate the machine, and you would say,
Yeah, thanks very much. I'm calling upon Ambassador Betsy Evans, who has worked for many years in the United Nations system and other places. Please, Yvette. Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to be with us here today. So what I believe can become a historic day for African youth, and I can even say African development. Representing 60% of the population of most African countries, youth are a vital resource that should be used most effectively for the development continent. And yet, these youth are underutilized and not being given the need. And failing that, they become problems in their societies. They remain idle and resort to drugs, crime, thus becoming a societal problem. And these, as I said, are the resources that Africa has, that Africa is failing to use in terms of furthering its development. This was why when the Kiki approached me, she had this idea of this project, I was delighted. Thought that we, those of us who have been able, had exposure to the outside world, realize the potential of the youth to take the steps. If our governments are not taking it, we need to do something to move things forward. And I was very excited to be a part of this because I knew of the potential it has and the possibilities that will be open to our youth, not only to make them respectable and an income, but also contribute to the development of their respective countries. Hesed World is indeed a response to this deed I'm talking about in terms of getting youth to be involved, to give them whatever resources they have, whatever potential they have, to turn them into concrete actions to assist the development of their countries. So here we are at the start of something which I see could be big. And with the support of everybody and the success that we have in the initial phases, we will be able to indeed achieve the objective of making the youth work for Africa, Africa work for the youth. I would like to declare this launch open. I hand over to our dear chair.
Thank you very, very much, Yvette. And you know, it's really amazing when you meet someone, I have an idea, right? You're not quite sure how it will go. Then you meet someone like Ambassador Yvette Stevens, and you know that you're on the right path. So first of all, thank you so much for being here. Majority of the people are actually online. This is the first of the time. We're 1 year old, right? And beautiful thing about this is that the fact that you're here is because you share the dream. Many times I've seen things, and this idea actually came at a very, very low period of my life, whereby I was in New York, beautiful apartment. I mean, who want to be there? It was beautiful, but I was probably the saddest I've ever been in my life. I lost my dear mom during the COVID time, couldn't go to Nigeria to bury her. So emotionally, I was crushed. And I remember saying, I've loved working for the United Nations, right? I worked there for nearly 20 years. But at some point, I asked myself, is this it? What is my purpose in this life? So then I had this thought, I said, okay, God, I need help because I cannot do it by myself. And for that, I want to say thank you, God. Because when I asked, the idea came. The idea came like this. Remember when you did your MBA, when you saw one of the projects that you did was another guy who's been to their career, Swiss, he was actually a Swiss Italian man who I know through a friend who was married to him. He became very depressed because he was let go at work. He was getting to his early 60s, he was let go. It was really down because he really worked very hard. And because of that, I was sad. I said, why can I not just use his skills? He's got this intellectual, generational experience. Why can we not use that to bring the youth up? That was the idea I had. So I actually did a project on it, and I did get house standing for it. So I was reminded of that. The second thing I was reminded was the trip to Kenya. And I saw the private sector. I was working in the private sector domain for the UN, and I brought the investors from the US, and they were pitching the ideas. The Kenyan university ICT students were pitching the ideas to the investors, and the investors would tell them, yes, good, but no, maybe you need to work on it. So then the idea said, well, why did you bring it together? Okay, yeah, why not? And then I asked, what name should I call it? Because everybody's saying, well, what's the name? What's the name? And I tell you, I was told, what is your favorite word in the Bible? And I said, loving kindness. Then I heard this word. I know there's a lot of things happening around the world right now. What is it in Hebrew? So I didn't know Hebrew. So I went to Google and I put the name there, and that's how we got the name. So just to tell you, that's the story behind that. Now, there are a few things you should know in terms of the journey itself. You can step into something and you're not quite sure how you're going to get there. But because of, and I have to say, thank God for the United Nations, because I have learned so many things. Even when it's painful sometimes, it was a learning. And one of the things I realized is that African youth, African itself is always like, when they talk about Africa, it's never good news, right? And then on top of that, being an African in that kind of environment, it's very painful to see the kind of things that we say. And then also here in Switzerland, when you see UDC, in terms of political thing, they have the African on the boat. And also, well, this is very painful, right? So all to say to you is that there was something in me that felt like I can go hurt and be hurt and be hurt and be hurt, or do something about it. And I remember one of my mentors, my mentor once you're going to meet her in a moment. She said something to me. She said, you know, we can't give everything to the government. We can't give everything to, we all have to take our own step. What is your more step? What little thing can you do to make the world better? So basically, that's what I did. And hence the reason why we're here today. So I'm very happy to have you here. It's a beginning. This is the first year, but we will have another one, and I hope that we'll have a bigger setting. I'm very delighted with having people online in here, so I'm very happy. So I'm not complaining. So thank you again. And lastly, I just want to say a big thank you to our donor. You might not know it. It was a guy, Mr. Hansi, and he's actually the chairman of one of the biggest shopping mall in the Philippines. You know, over the years, you develop relationship. People see you, they know what you're about. When I told him, it was here in June, and I told him about this project I was doing. I said, I've spent all my money or whatever, but I just did a little bit of help. And he said to me, okay, Kiki, I trust you. And that's when, in July, we got our first big donation. That being said, there were other people. The first one who actually gave the money was a woman from the United Kingdom, 91 years old. And she believed in the idea, and she put a deposit down. Why should a 91-year-old who is not African decided to invest in this? That's saying me a lot. So thank you very much. We are looking for partners. We are looking for in-kind, and in-kind contribution is always welcome. But also financial. It doesn't really matter. Come, join the community. Thank you very much. I'll stop there.
Thanks, Pepper. We have a special video message, which I think Kiki is going to sort out for us in a minute, from Hansi. And as Kiki said, he's the chairman and executive committee of SM Prime Holdings in the Philippines. And the theme is investing in the youth for a stronger future. Stand by.
Sorry, bear with us.
Ya, está lugar. Ah, thank you very much.
You didn't practice enough.
I didn't practice enough.
So I need the mic for the,
No.
because here
Okay, you can talk, yes.
unless we need it for the recording.
No, I don't think so.
Or there are people online.
They're online.
Yeah.
So David.
All right, thank you. President Lowell, Ambassador Stevens, ladies and gentlemen. Most of us have had the privilege of speaking in one capacity or another at various important events. And few are lucky enough to have the opportunity to be present at the creation. Today, such an occasion is my great honor. It's barely over a year, 2 years, 3 years from the start, count wherever you wish, but it's a very short time. I remember how Kiki and I first discussed a brilliant idea with Africans with the skills and communities needed to secure or create meaningful work and build their own futures. We lamented the obstacles she was facing in reaching her aim. But in no time, we are launching Hesed World today, and this much work will be ahead of the organization. We've done including pilot programs, so in Nigeria, Kenya, Malawi, much more. Youth is humankind's biggest asset. Its reservoir of talent, energy, and optimism. At the same time, however, it is a coil of pent-up negative energy, poverty, hate, fear, and vengeful frustration. Nowhere is this more palpable than in Africa, where unemployment and disenfranchisement are rampant. Therein lies our greatest challenge: enlarge this reservoir of positive energy and optimism while diminishing poverty, fear, sentiment, and this. Easier said than done. The entire world situation is a series of growing obstacles. actually conspired together. Recently coined a phrase, this state of affairs, belligerent uncertainty. It's belligerent because the use and threat of force has become too dangerous, despite the admonishments, charter, reams, international legal instruments, it's accumulated a century and a half. It's fraught with uncertainty because those wielding these tools with such abandon have no idea where they're. Indeed, towards the end of the first quarter of the 21st century, we find ourselves in a situation of unprecedented danger, even by the standards of classical diplomacy, both bilateral and multilateral, sidelined. War with the stated aim of destroying another country and people has returned to the European continent. It has joined the horrendous crisis in Sudan, the list of over 50 other ongoing. And all of the above makes for a very precarious situation. It is not yet a world war, but it is certainly a world panic. There is no more urgent need than to ensure the new generation are not caught up yet again in this cycle of war, revenge, and terrorism. They're ready for a new mindset, indeed, a new neighborhood policy based on community and mutual understanding. Education has a great responsibility in this task because it promotes what is most important and basic in the struggle for development, rights, peace, culture of solidarity. Higher education, based on the world of risk, assumes a central position and particularly important because it is the essential link in educating the new generation and in promoting the development of real culture. And schools, in my mind, are also critical. A teenager leaves high school already an angry, hateful, and vindictive individual. It will be exceedingly difficult to undo the damage to mind and soul. The children in the well-to-do North, there are good schools and various additional opportunities and tools, among them the Model United Nations. But what about the children that have no schooling other than harsh rifle, want, conflict, fear, and loss of loved ones, which life and community have taught them is the others? Most egregious manifestation of this is children in conflict, that is debilitating effect. Children and youth permeates class. Tribal education alone, despite its overarching concerted efforts to lift the young generation when they come. In this work, mentoring and vocational training play an immense role. These efforts are extremely important, mainly and indeed overdue. Importantly, they supplement and support education, family, and the learning of values and human communities. How many communities around the world can vote? Hesed World adds a missing important link. These efforts of the United Nations globally and it has become quite a mantra lately. Multilateralism is in crisis. The UN is irrelevant, etc. However, we need to be honest with ourselves and clear in order to find the right prescriptions for the problem. It is not multilateralism or the United Nations that are in crisis. It is the entire post-war system. It has been in crisis since the collapse of the bipolar world, but has now increased in its. This is due in large measure to the national egoism that has taken precedence over international law and human civilized cooperation. Human rights are not relative, they are universal. In its work, Hesed World faces and will face multiple challenges at three levels. At the country level, still very much Westphalian in its essence, challenges are proliferation of double standards, hypocrisy, self-serving narratives, facile labeling. At the societal level, among the many challenges are maximalism, gullibility of the public, indeed, and a willingness to see. absence of a culture of debate, manipulation, and this is extremely important and serious, manipulation of the energy, enthusiasm, and goodwill of youth. There are equally daunting challenges at the level of individuals. Inability or unwillingness to listen, rush to judgment, instinct to use the hatreds of the past in the future, and power. Now, before we talk about teaching the tools of solidarity, development, and human rights, let us do the tough groundwork of inculcating the values of solidarity development. In closing, my elder grandson recently asked me, Grandpa, probably Georgia, what should I become when I grow up? Key question to which he's 12 years old. A key question to which we, as the older generation, need to be able to, if not provide a ready, concrete answer, then at least to provide the element for informed decision. We need to be able to anticipate, imagine, project. This is mentoring and bridging generation action. Lastly, we need to face up to the fact that our generation is not leaving this world to the next generation in any state bragging. So, unfortunately, we're leaving a tough job, and it will be up to the next generation, students and youth today, to do double duty. Their generation, we drop. If our generation is not in a position to leave them a better world, we can and must provide and extend every form of support to the young generation, be it through education, mentorship, guidance, or bridging generations. The power of intergenerational partnerships is a powerful force. We need to put it at the disposal of the enthusiasm, energy, earnest commitment, and maximalism of youth, coupled with professionalism, education, integrity, and a moral compass, are an unbeatable combination and humankind's best hope.
That was actually, I've heard you say that on a few occasions at the GCSP in many ways, but it was really quite a good opening remark, keynote address. Thank you.
Later, tell me which part I repeat.
I will, don't worry. Okay, we're now moving to the youth segment, Voices of a Rising Generation. Let's go read out who's going to be. So we're going to invite Kiara Bergerman, Olive Lakinga, and Andrew Heaton Travis to the panel. Yes. To introduce each one, Yara. You are from Switzerland and Italy. You are an international relations, political science, and global development person. That sounds quite a handful, but impressive. We have Andrew Heaton Travis, who actually is American, but actually spends more time in Africa and would like to be seen more as an African person rather than an American. Can't imagine why, but at the moment he's a graduate. He's at the Graduate Institute in International Relations Development, and he's looking at peace and security. And that's a good one, challenging. Olive, by the way, compliments on your dress. I think it's very, very impressive. I thought I was that, but you really take the prize. So you're from Cameroon and the USA and Switzerland. You're in national security, governance, and AI, and you are a young global leader. Oh, bravo. So very good. So the key messages, and you all have to give quick answers on this, I believe. I think that's Kiki's idea. Why Youth Voice is central to Hesed World's mission. What the mentorship survey revealed about youth needs, skills, access, opportunities, and mindset. How these insights inform the design of the youth engagement platform, and your own lived-in experience, expertise, findings of the survey, and the vision that you see behind this. Now, I know that's a lot. You need me to repeat it. Was that okay? Well, if you start, you have the floor. Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and, of course, representing Hesed World from a youth perspective. And I suppose it's such a big question, but I'd like to respond to it based on at least 3 criteria that I would approach from my own lived experience, as well as someone who has a cross-cultural background. So the first response, I would highly emphasize the importance of cross-generational knowledge sharing in respect to the fact that we are currently experiencing, especially from a labor market perspective, the fact that the world we're entering in, especially as young people, is not the world that has existed prior. And so the importance of cross-generational knowledge sharing is we can benefit greatly from those who come before us, and particularly those who have expertise on various foundational knowledge, and then bridging that gap to now cultivate the skills necessary that our generation are able to learn and adapt to the changing environment, particularly from an employment perspective. And the second approach is also the importance, in this case, is on us, the young people, to actually recognize I would say in this case, the gaps that are existing and how we can bridge this gap. So as a woman, as a young woman of African heritage who has lived within Africa, US, and Switzerland, the cross-cultural perspective that I can add to the debate or to the conversation, particularly in respect to AI governance, is that currently, as current statistics indicate, less than 1% of policymakers in AI space are of African heritage. So this is a gap that I can identify. I notice that it's necessary if we want to have representation of, especially voices that have been historically marginalized within the AI space. And so I can take upon myself now to educate myself, reskill, especially when it comes to relearning the growing discourse within the AI space, and then also understand that I don't know everything. Therefore, I need to also now piggyback from the existing knowledge, the elders who might already have knowledge and experience within this field. And so through that, we have a cross-generation knowledge share, but also learning with each other on the evolving narrative discourse on AI as an example. And then finally, I would say recognizing also the opportunities that within the AI space that it brings, because I think the conversation tends to be job loss and how much is going to impact and make a lot of people feel a sort of dissonance. And to me, I think just like the COVID-19 pandemic revealed that our global health systems are ineffective, this is also another opportunity where we can recognize that right now, we do not have a cohesive global governance system to actually inform us about the AI governance framework. So how do we bridge those? We cannot just sit and say, well, policy will catch up, because what tends to happen is technology advances far rapidly than policy. So as future policymakers, especially when you've already recognized a domain that is lacking representation, the onus is on us to actually take on those leadership roles and take on those responsibilities, and then have the guidance and the mentorship of elders. Because if we cannot bridge this gap, it's inevitable that we will continue perpetrating the same narrative and waiting for others to make the decisions for us rather than taking proactive steps. So that's how I respond to it. Thank you.
That'll be very hard to follow. Thank you for sharing that. And it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for your questions. I think the biggest thing is that actually, do you think you could repeat the questions again? Because I was following what was being said. And
why youth voice is central to Hesed World's mission. Mentorship survey revealed how these insights inform the design of the youth engagement.
I'm not sure if I'm fully aware of everything that was going on with the survey. But I think when it comes to youth voices, often they're overlooked. I think this is a big moment for Hesed World as a platform to open up the opportunity for youth voices to come forward. Because oftentimes, across the board, those that are involved and active and voices of influence are much older, and the youth generation. This is an opportunity to bring those voices forward, and I think Hesed World can function as a bridge to connect the two. Not only as those that are in places of influence who are older or of an older generation can within these mentorships can bring forward perspectives that can influence not just one way towards the youth, but also go back and as youth are engaging with mentors who are of a different generation can bring their voices forward. And I think I want to touch on important skills that I think are essential for youth in this day and age. And I think the two important skills that I think will be important for Hesed for mentors to be sort of giving to their mentees are digital fluency. I think as youth are coming into a world where they're going to be professionals and engaging, being able to not just be stuck. I think as Yvette had mentioned, is not being stuck in. I heard it. She was speaking in one of the fireside chats. Is like learning and not being stuck in one discipline, but being able to transcend that. And as youth are looking for jobs and coming into a job marketplace, having the skills to be able to navigate digital technologies and engage with new platforms and communicate digitally, I think, and operate with data as well. I think these skills that will be essential for youth coming in, as well as professional skills. I think it will be important. So oftentimes, professional skills are learned and picked up on the way, and they're not something that are taught in schools. And I think the opportunity for mentors to impart these skills to the youth within these bridges will be super important. I think the barrier that the youth face is not the talent. They have the talent, but what really is missing is the exposure and the guidance, the structured guidance and exposure to these skills that they need, and be able to push them forward. So,
well, very hard to add on both. But actually, I wrote something about the barriers, so I just want to add this. A very big barrier today is that a lot of young people, they just don't have the connection. And all the opportunities, they come through the mentorship. And that's why it's incredibly important for us. And this is the main goal of Hesed. It can really help you because a good mentor can introduce you to people, networks, as I said, but alone, you're not able to reach it. And I just wanted to, well, actually, I wrote something, but I want to talk about my personal experience with Kiki. Kiki was my mentor for a few months because I did an internship within Hesed. I've learned so much, and I just wanted to thank you for all the initiatives that you're doing, and salute you for the hard work. And I've seen Hesed as a seed stage, and today I hope that it will be a very big forest because you're truly implementing incredible change. And yeah, well done. don't really know what to add because you gave incredible insights, and I think that all the questions were answered.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm just going to open the floor for a few questions just before going on to the next segment. And thank you to the panelists. And you stay there because you're going to have to answer the question. Anyone who's got questions, please.
Do I need the mic?
Yes, you'll have the mic.
Thank you so much. It's always very good and renewing to have young people and hear their voice. But I have a question because we live in a world where old people like me always say it's very important to have young people, but we always monopolize the spaces. From your creative ways, how can you claim the space and influence decisions even where you are not so openly invited? How do you do that? And I'm asking this really having in mind with the, I don't know if somebody remembers, there was an African American long time ago. She had a saying that if they don't welcome you at their table, bring your folded chair. And she stood as the presidential candidate long time ago in the US. Of course, she didn't make it, but.
Right, does someone want to answer that? You're waiting.
So this lady is actually Shirley Chisholm, and so she's actually one of my greatest inspirations, and one of the key aspects that also fostered my interest in AI governance and particularly policymaking is because oftentimes, I wouldn't say, like both my colleagues already mentioned, it's having people who've done it, and so you're seeking more of a mentor as a guide. But I happen to take the approach that we also need to be proactive. We have to seek the opportunities even when we are not necessarily given. And so how do you go about that? Personally, I've gone about it by just conducting research on my own. I go online, and if I have a topic, an idea, I don't try to ask who knows this, who knows that. I take the initiative myself. And so when I start conducting the research, maybe finding links or trying to understand a certain criteria, a topic, this leads me into a bit of a rabbit hole. And I think this is where the creative process of having to recognize an industry, a field that you want to contribute in, because you know we cannot do everything, but at least the little we can contribute. You need to start by taking that active initiative process. And so as you're delving in and deeper, you also now find, I might be interested in this. And then you can now utilize platforms like LinkedIn, or even the resources around you to maybe now take it a bit further to have personal introductions. And again, it's not accessible in this case when we're talking in different regions where you don't necessarily have these available resources. So in that capacity, I would say my own lived experience is limited, but however, I highly encourage, especially young people who feel marginalized and who don't necessarily have a presence, feel like their presence is not recognized in especially developing economies where typically our voices are seen as secondary or in the periphery. So it's not something I can readily answer, but I would say it often starts with you taking that personal initiative to seek the areas in which you're marginalized.
Yeah, I just thought I think it's important for like us youth and those, not just us, but everyone that is seeking to move forward, is to realize that those who are in positions that we want to be in were once like us and were once young. And having that perspective, I think, will allow us to have less fear of going, like reaching out and trying to break those barriers. But then at the same time, those that have been able to succeed and be in places and do more, we're given the opportunity and we're in an environment. And so I think the creation of those environments where young people are given the opportunity to push forward, because it's a combination of not. I think it does take pushing forward, but then it does take that spark of having the right environment to be able to push into those spaces. And I think Hesed it has the opportunity to really push and create those spaces, not only when it comes to being one-on-one with a mentor, but creating those spaces unilaterally to give the opportunity for youth who might not have it to push. And I think that perspective needs to go both ways as well. So.
Let's go. I actually have the same point, but it's more when you say taking your seat at the table. I think it takes a lot of not being not being scared of failure, and having the confidence through a mentor, and especially a mentor that will actually give you confidence in your ideas. So,
question for anyone online. Does anyone want to say anything? Anyone online? Quick word? Come on, don't be scared. We're all friends. The floor is open. Okay. While we're waiting, we'll ask anyone else in the audience here. Okay.
Listening to the young people, I discovered the people we call old don't feel old. Because when I was 20, I was hearing people are 50 years, and I was wondering, how can you get to 50? And when I became 50, I don't feel 50. So I like what the young lady has said. Go there, with your seat, sit at the table, contribute. When you stand, people see you. When I stood, I saw me.
It's a 70-year-old. I can identify with that. Okay, we're going to, if there's no questions from online, move to the next segment. Okay. Now I'm taking orders from Kiki. So it's the Africa Youth Mentorship Survey, key insights and emerging trends, and Kiki is taking this.
But maybe you stay for a minute because this concerns me as well, especially. I just want to give you the background. When we did the mentorships survey, we got the responses. The team, all our team members are 30. And they come across Malawi, Nigeria. I tasked them, have a look at the question, the responses, and I said, it looks to me to do something about the community. It was just a task, and this is the result of what came through. So I'll get them to present. Okay, Michelle, when you're ready, please take the floor.
All right, thank you. Just a second as I share my screen.
Please introduce yourself as well, Michelle. Thanks.
All right. All right. So greetings to you all. My name is Michelle, and I'm one of the youths that are part of Hesed World. And I'll be presenting to you this proposal on our youth engagement and empowerment platform. So this presentation is going to be divided into 9 different segments, and each segment is represented by an individual slide. Right. So across the world, millions of young people are not in employment, education, and training, and young women are most affected. And this gap isn't just social, it's a massive missed economic opportunity. So from our recent mentorship survey across the 3 pilot countries of Hesed World, that is Kenya, Malawi, and Nigeria, one thing really stood out, which is young people are not just looking for inspiration or motivation. They are looking for structure, practical skills, and mentorship that can lead to opportunities, whether that is in jobs, entrepreneurship, or leadership pathways. So we thought, what better way to use these insights from our survey than to build an online community that brings these youths together. So during our research, WhatsApp really stood out as one of the best platforms to make this happen. It already has over 3.1 billion active monthly users globally. And the most interesting thing is that nearly 27% of these users globally are youths. That is 837 youths all around the world use WhatsApp. It is low cost, easy to access, and it is the perfect space for us to have real conversations and cross-border collaboration. And the good thing about this whole proposal, especially for Hesed World, is that we're not starting this from scratch. We are building this on an already existing platform with subject matter experts and youth that have engaged with us in previous activities. Our proposal revolves around 4 key objectives that are all built around one main idea, which is creating real two-way communication with the youths. It's about giving them what they want while also listening to what they need, because the project was designed by youth and for youth from diverse backgrounds. We wanted to make sure that every young person, no matter their background, can benefit and feel represented. We also have our engagement strategies that are built around 4 interconnected pillars. And these pillars take into account the diversity amongst the youths. And we've made sure that each young person can find something for themselves, no matter where they're coming from, whether they're coming from an educational background, a healthcare background, or any background of themselves. So to implement this whole project, our implementation, it unfolds in 3 structured phases that are designed to ensure quality, inclusivity, and sustainable growth. And the initial implementation of this project will begin in our 3 pilot countries, that is Kenya, Malawi, and Nigeria, before we expand globally. So the first phase is the community launch. So we aim to start this launch with a small group of youths, that is between 25 and 100, to test and refine engagement strategies. We aim to recruit these youths from the youth that have previously engaged with us as Hesed World through the activities that we have done. And we also aim to share through our various social media networks for youth to join us. We aim also to do some simple onboarding processes that include orientation, because some of these youths, they don't really know what we do as Hesed World. The second phase is the growth and sustainability phase. So in this phase, we aim to increase the number of youths that engage with us, that is between 200 and 300 youths, and we aim to introduce referral programs so that the youth that are already part of us, they can share about what we are doing as Hesed World with people in their networks, in their communities, so that they can come and join us. And we also intend to do regular surveys and get feedback from the youth that are engaging with us to see what is going on okay, what needs to be improved, or what needs to be changed. And then the third phase is the third phase is the optimization and scaling phase. So we aim to grow our community to youths that are beyond 400 youths, right? So we will also intend to launch peer-led translation initiatives and expand globally to include other regions beyond Africa, given that the initial launch of the project will start in the 3 pilot countries that are in Africa. Following these 3 initial phases, we have what we call our post-implementation and youth engagement goals. So these goals will be implemented after the 3 key phases to sustain momentum, improve inclusivity, and expand global impact. So one of these is having localized content and language accessibility. So we aim to launch peer-led translation initiatives. We know that, for example, in Africa, it's a very rich and diverse continent, and not everybody in Africa speaks only English. We have some youth that speak Swahili, for example, French, Portuguese, and Arabic. So to facilitate the engagement of all youths, no matter the language that they speak, we aim to engage to initiate this localized content and language initiative so that every youth feels involved and doesn't feel left out. Additionally, we also aim to enhance our monitoring and evaluation by introducing some key performance indicators to assess the skills that the youth would have gained, mentorship success, projects launched, and also collaborations. We also aim to track transition from informal to formal mentorship. And then finally, we aim to have an expansion globally, that is to engage other youths that are beyond Africa, given that initially we would have started in Africa. Throughout the planning of this whole initiative, inclusivity was at the heart of each and every phase. We aim to create a safe, diverse, and collaborative community that is built on shared values and open dialogue. We also aim to maintain an inclusive admin team and regularly carry out assessments to ensure that we measure the quality of our engagement with the youths. To further enhance the research and the outcomes of this platform that we're trying to build, we carried out some sustainable development goals insights across the 3 pilot countries of Hesed World, that is Kenya, Malawi, and Nigeria. And we discovered that there is a very huge diversity in terms of the strengths and weaknesses that each country has in terms of the sustainable development goals. And we noticed that there are various opportunities, including in the areas of youth-led innovation, in climate particularly, and digital technologies, and also in areas of programs that aim to boost digital skills and entrepreneurship. Unfortunately, there are also challenges. For example, in most of these countries, there's a very high youth unemployment rate, and also there's also limited access to digital technologies and digital infrastructures. So through this program that we are proposing, we aim to solve these problems and increase investment in projects that youth are developing in terms of climate action, food security, digital skills, and we also aim to strengthen multi-regional partnerships and support youth-led innovation. And then finally, we believe that youths are the future of tomorrow. They are the leaders of tomorrow, and the future belongs to those who are empowered to shape it. So as Hesed World, we are calling upon individuals, institutions, and partners to join us in this movement, whether by collaborating with us to design and implement youth-led projects or providing mentorship or training opportunities to these emerging young leaders all around the world, and ultimately also supporting financially or in kind to expand youth programs and outreach. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. That's really interesting. And there's a lot to take in there. So I think it'd be useful to see the slides. So thanks. We're now going, ladies and gentlemen, you may leave now. Thank you. We're now going to move on to the next panel session, which is Bridging Wisdom and Innovation for Sustainable Development. So, someone. Okay, if we can call forward the next set of panelists, please. So it'd be Sarah, that's you. Kathleen is also going to go. Now, Professor Patrick Maluki, if he's here.
He's online.
He's online. And what about Dr. Ahmed Mohammed Salim? Yes, you're there. Welcome. And finally, I think Dale Sands is online as well. Yeah. Kiki, are they online? Can we confirm?
No. Is Professor Patrick online?
Okay, I'll start. So, Sarah, we've already. Okay, we'll start. We'll start at the other end. Mohammed Salim, am I correct? Excellent. First names I'm getting right. You're involved in the International Federation Red Cross, the Youth Engagement, Conflict Resolution, Interfaith Dialogue, Policy. What a mouthful. It must keep you busy. I'll come to those online in a minute when we have a confirmation. I think we've seen Ghislaine and her wonderful projects in Uganda and in DRC. And of course, our wonderful orphanage operation, so we don't need to introduce it so much. Can we confirm is the professor online? And Dale, are you online? No.
There is online.
Okay. Okay, I'll just introduce Dale. Dale is Hesed World Advisory Group member and the Principal Managing Director of SANS Consulting Solutions, where he provides global expertise in environment, sustainability, resilience, and planning and climate risk management. I'll introduce the professor. He is chairman of the Department of Diplomacy and International Studies at the University of Nairobi. He holds a PhD in Peace and Conflict Studies, a master's degree in International Studies, a PGD in Mass Communication, and a bachelor's degree in Education. Obviously, very well educated, so certainly more than me. So the questions for the panel. The intergenerational panel demonstrates how seasoned professionals, policymakers, humanitarian leaders, and community builders can support youth-driven development, and together their insights show why cross-generational partnerships matter, how institutions and leaders can create space for youth innovation, practical pathways for mentorship, resilience, and long-term impact, a unified global North and a global South commitment to empowering young people. So, can we start with, who should we start with? Ghislaine, you're in the hot seat.
Uganda, a very large number of young people are graduates, but without market-oriented employment. There is a high school dropout rate, especially among girls, due to cost, early pregnancy, and long distances. Lack of teaching resource, training teacher, and adequate infrastructure. The urgent need of young people in Uganda, employment, education, health, and participation require comprehensive solutions. Intergenerational partnerships are not only useful, they are essential for creating sustainable transformation as they combine the strength of different generations. Youth equal energy, innovation, elder equal experience, stability, and transmission, adults equal guidance, structure, and advocacy. The association is training at this level to train and provide professional skills into the two main sectors, health and education.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you to Kiki for inviting me and for volunteering me.
Yes.
For this.
I know the feeling.
Sure. But also many congratulations on the launch, and I know that we brainstormed this idea. We had a number of conversations. So maybe let me start with perhaps stepping back a little bit, right? I think part of what we need to do when we talk about cross-generational partnerships, I think we need to be mindful of the narrative that we use. When I say the narrative, I'm very tired of people sitting, standing here going, young people are the future, and so we need to invest. That means that young people are actually waiting somewhere in the wings, and they're just waiting to be told they're not ready now. We need to change that narrative, right? So the narrative is now young people are staying, young people are the power. So once you shift that narrative, you shift the conversation around generation. So I think that's the first one. The second one is, I think we do this huge disservice when we just paint young people as young people, assuming that they're this single cohesive unit that has all sorts of things, right? There's a heterogeneity of young people. They bring different voices, different perspectives, different solutions. If we don't recognize that, I think so I think, in the experience of the work that we do, we know that, if you give young people, you ask them, do you have a solution to the problem in your community? They will instantly sort of come back and sort of say, yes, what can we build? What can we fix? What can we imagine differently? So there's something there around how do we change that narrative. Institutions largely underestimate. They underestimate that perspective. And so if we really want to shift that and understand that heterogeneity, we need to understand where young people come from and what is their role. And so I kind of call this the 5 A's for youth engagement, right? So young people are agents of change. They have the capacity to shift realities. They are architects. They can help design systems. They're anchors. They can sort of ground the community based on their lived experience. They're also advocates. They speak truth to power in a way that no one else does. For those of you who remember from your fairy tales and Emperor's New Clothes, who was it that pointed out who was a youth? So that is a part of young people. And they elevate stories. Nowadays we talk about AI, power of social media. It's young people who can share those stories. So I think we need to create that enabling environment, how we engage with them. And then when it comes to cross-generational dialogue, and I think this is where we were talking about, what are the practical ways of mentorship? One, we have to go to where young people are. So if we want to mentor young people, we can't expect them during a 9-to-5 job where we are sitting here in a nice room, having good food and presentation. We need to go to where they are. I think we don't do that often. We don't do that at times that they want. And I think I often call cross-generational, intergenerational engagement as a platform race, right? For those of you who watch the Olympics or any of these athletics, there's a crucial moment when the baton is handed over from one runner to the next. It isn't thrown, it isn't dropped, it is passed respectfully, deliberately, and while running in the same direction. I think that's what we need to get to, and that's where I think the power is. Thank you.
Yeah. You, and then we'll go to Dowa.
Thank you very much, Bola Kadidimichi, and to talk on the role of intergenerational mentorship in restoring dignity and opportunity and purpose for women, girls, and vulnerable community. One thing we must understand is that this is very essential and it's very important for us to understand that the older generation needs the younger one, and the younger one also needs the older generation. We must understand is that we have to work together. And if you really want to see a changed nation or an advanced nation. So this is very, very important. In my work across nations and community, I've seen many solutions proposed for generation, for gender inequality and vulnerability, financial programs, education initiatives, policy reform, advocacy, and empowerment training. All of these are very, very important.
But over time, I discovered something big, that real transformation happened when one woman, and more based on, because I deal with the women, when one woman takes another by hand. So when generation connects, when wisdom meets potential, and when stories meet hope. So this is the power of intergenerational mentorship. What does it create? It brings restoration into dignity, rebuilding identity and worth. So many women and girls are vulnerable, especially around where we are, and they experience lots of abuse and some things. But because of the fact that the culture or the cultural silence that has been placed on them, they were not able to speak out. So as we will encourage the relationship, the intergenerational mentoring, it will really, really help these younger ones to be able to understand what they have, what they carry, because they can see the example in the older ones. And the older ones will be able to really encourage them. So some of them, because of some problems that we find out, like the cultural silencing, because of the culture, you must not talk or whatever. When elderly people are talking, the younger ones should shut up and things like that. And it has caused generational trauma. And sometimes we have also the poverty-driven shame because of the situation and things. It's really, really has a way of making the younger generation to think that maybe they are not welcome. So it's important for us to see that we need to be there for them. And they have the innovation, but we have the wisdom. So this can come together through the wisdom and the way and the means by which we approach them and allow them to really see that we can be of help to them and they can also be of help to us. So, and this way, restore dignity that maybe has been lost before. Another thing is that dignity is restored through affirmation. Through affirmation, emotional safety, shared identity, and a sense of belonging. Research constantly shows that girls who have a mentor, formal or informal, are more likely to stay in school, resist exploitation, and build confidence, and set higher life goals. Also, beyond the statistics, we see it in real life that a 40-year-old girl who believed she was invisible suddenly discovered her voice. And a young mother who thought she had failed now realized that she has a future. And a vulnerable woman finds the courage to rebuild, because in one way or the other, we see that our networking and encouraging each other can really build up this courage in them. So dignity is not just a gift, it's a restoration process. And mentorship is one of the most powerful tools that can be used. So also it creates opportunity and opens door that woman cannot open on her own. The opportunity is not always about resources, often it is about access to network, access to knowledge, to platform decision making and spaces, and possibility that have been historically closed to women. So older women carry these skills. They carry life experience, strategies for survival, wisdom from failure, insight from leadership. Younger women carry energy, innovation, and technology skills, and fresh ideas. And when this generation meets, intentionally, opportunity multiplies, and mentorship becomes a bridge. So a bridge to education, a bridge to financial stability, a bridge to entrepreneurship, also to social participation. So in vulnerable community like ours, intergenerational mentorship often becomes the difference between a girl repeating the cycle of poverty and a girl stepping into a new world of possibility. And then finally, it brings restoring purposes, releasing vision, hope, and direction. Purpose is one of the most powerful forces in a woman's life. And when a woman knows why she exists, no barrier can permanently stop her. So, okay. But vulnerable community often faces purpose erosion. Girls grow up hearing what they cannot become. You are a girl, you cannot become something, you just end up as a lady in the kitchen or something like that. But women survive life instead of living it. So dreams shrink under the weight of reality. So intergenerational mentorship reunites purpose by offering models of what is possible because they can see it in the other women. It gives the younger one the courage, even though the tradition has another means of presenting it. And when a younger woman sees someone who looks like her, who has survived what she survived, who carries the strength she desires, purpose is awake. So mentorship says your past does not disqualify your value. Your story is valid, your voice is needed, your purpose is still alive. And when purpose returns, so does resilience also. So finally, I think mentoring women mentored women finally will become mentors, and empowered girls become leaders. Strength flows from one generation to the next, and this circle breaks poverty, early marriages, gender-based violence, generational silence, and it replaces them with circles of empowerment, education, leadership, community impact, and generational strength.
You have the audience. So over to Dale if he can join us.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes. I hope that you can hear me now. Yes?
We can hear you. If you share your video.
Okay. I've got the video on. You know, I want to wish a happy birthday. The first year of Hesed World has come a long way in year one. And congratulations to Kiki for leading this idea. Kiki and I have worked together for many years, and I had the privilege of working with Kiki on the development of Hesed World. Fundamentally, I agree that mentoring is a very powerful and effective bridge to learning, from book learning, academic learning, to real-world applications. And we often think of mentoring as a one-way street, when in fact it's a two-way street. I've worked in Africa, the Middle East, Europe, many countries, and one of the things that I've discovered is the tremendous ideas that the youth can bring. They consider what could be, not what has been. And I think that objectivity that young people can bring to the problems that our world faces is very important. And so it's not just senior people lecturing to younger people. It's engaging and listening to both sides and finding a better path forward. And this involvement that we can get from engaging with young people and multi-generational people can really lead to a commitment to the outcome. You know, involvement builds commitment to the outcome. And I think too often we think about mentoring as a one-way street. I remember in Abuja when Kiki and I were doing a seminar on resilience, the youth were so anxious to participate and get involved. And we still haven't really found the most effective mechanism for that. but the tremendous opportunities that reside in Africa start with its youth. And we can build a future from that. Yes, the raw materials are important. The size of the workforce is very important, but also the energy and the what can be attitude of young people that bring to the challenges is very, very important. Mentoring is a global need, and it really has been increased because of COVID, where we were so isolated and we almost lost a generation. And so we need to continue to refresh mentoring as a very important part of the learning process. And again, learning is a two-way street. With 2/3 of the population in Africa under 30, you know, it's both an opportunity and a challenge, because that means that less than a third are potential mentors. And so it builds the idea that we need to continue to cooperate and collaborate both ways, not just one way. And that's the power of multi-generational learning. We've become too isolated between different factions. We need to come together and be able to work together, listen together, create solutions together. Thank you for the opportunity to participate today. This is such a vital movement, you know, that is getting recognition across the world, but Hesed World is really kind of leading the way with Malawi, Nigeria, and Kenya. And I think we really have an opportunity to make for a better world. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Good insights. Good. Professor Patrick Maluki, are you there? Yeah. Are you there, Professor? Unmute.
If we can't get Professor, maybe you ask questions.
Okay, so while we try and contact him, are there any questions from the audience on this panel's segment? Please? Any good questions? No? I think they're questioned out. Would the panel like to say anything? Oh, hang on. Yvette's gone.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think this panel has been very interesting. What keeps coming to my mind all the time is that we are doing this and nobody's talking about governments. Then what is the role of governments in encouraging these actions? We know that increasingly in the UN, world youth is appearing in everything. You know that governments in our parts of the world have set up youth ministries, etc. Why aren't they effective? Why aren't they creating the space of what we're talking about? I mean, I don't know. I just thought about it and I said, because ultimately, the government cannot neglect their responsibility, basic responsibility for the development of their countries. Why aren't they more involved in getting us to know what we are doing? I just thought I'd ask that question because it just kept coming up in my mind that we're all talking about all this, but we have never mentioned governments.
Very good point. I think governments are expecting the private sector and others to do the work for them. It seems to me that the money is not there, or the enthusiasm. So maybe that's the answer. Any other any questions or comments, or are we ready to move to the last thing? Oh, stand by.
Might check the chat as well.
I maybe just have comments. Okay, yeah. What I'm realizing from this, it's like youth are in the driver's seat of a car, and a car has headlights, it has windshield, and it has 3 mirrors looking up towards the back. Those 3 mirrors give an indication of where one has to go as well. And I think that's the mentorship type of thing. So they are the rear view mirrors. And, you know, the youth have to look through the front window and have good light about what's happening. Unfortunately, governance today is giving a very, very bad image about governance and about all these things. So one has to come back to some of the things that happen here in Geneva, like ISO and different organizations like that, base oneself on some of the current norms that exist for quality in the world. Just a comment.
No, thank you. Right. Dale, did you have a comment? Line?
Could you restate that question?
So he said, do you have any?
Do you have a question? Did you or comment? Any others?
Yeah, I think the analogy of the windshield and the rearview mirror is excellent because it really brings together the perspectives of both multi-generations. And I think we can learn from each other. Too often we are not listening, we're more lecturing. And I think it's got to go both ways to really be beneficial and leverage the strength of the what can be attitude from our youth.
Well, I'm going to take that analogy a little bit and maybe back to Ambassador Stevens' point. So the problem is not that the young people are not in driving seats, but the problem is where are they going to? And often they're going to places that we've asked them to go to, right? We've not sat down and sort of said, where shall we go? How shall we go? Is this the right way to go? What we've said is, here's the driver's seat, please sit in, but you need to go here, and you need to go there, and you need to go there. So I think that we need to take that, change that. And I think part of that, and it goes back to the question of where the government is, there is no trust in governments, in institutions, in leadership. If you look at the latest Edelman Trust Barometer, young people have absolutely no trust in 4 institutions: the government, the media, the NGOs, and the private sector. Pretty much, where does that leave us? Right? So I think that we really need to start to build trust. And that means we need to start sitting and talking to young people and having them part of the process. The problem with that is that for most of us that work, particularly in the multilateral system, that's entirely so slow. We can't turn that into a project. We can't monetize that. And so that's the problem that we have. So I think if we really want to do co-creation, it has to be slow and it has to be at a pace that fits everyone. We need to be humble about that.
There's one final question online, and then we'll stop.
Yes, we do have a question online. All right, so it's a question and a comment at the same time. So this is from Oluwaseyi Aladekomo. He's saying that this session is very insightful and inspiring. Dr. Amjad said a powerful point about mentors taking that initiative of reaching out to the youth instead of just sitting and waiting. His question, he says, my question surfaced around that. How can Hesed World choose the right mentorship for my purpose and career path? Is there a criteria or requirement for that decision?
Excellent question. So in fact, we do have the survey results from the the survey result from trying to find out exactly what you want, what you need. And Amjad was talking about, we have to go and find you. That's exactly what we did. So for example, in Malawi, we had to do that extra mile. Instead of just going online, we had to go to the areas just to go and meet them. And it's not easy, but it was necessary. So if you don't mind, if you wait just a little bit, we will be, the survey is going to be, we're going to talk a little bit about the survey because we're launching the results. And that way you'll be able to get your responses. And on top of that, if you do want to have a conversation with us, send us an email. We're online, and I'll be very happy. Or LinkedIn, I'll be very happy to get in touch with you. Thank you.
So we're going to close this panel now because we need to move on to the next one, unless we're keen to end at 3 o'clock. So thank you to the panelists. Thank you, Dale.
Thank you all.
Now, I've just got to check something. Is that right? Okay, so the next segment and the last segment is multi-stakeholder roundtable, working together for transformational impact. We have Dr. Fulueta Lusungu Moyo, we have Deborah Johnson, and we have Olive. We have someone else. Name I do not know.
Vivian.
Oh, hello, Vivian. Vivian, I do know.
Vivian can introduce herself.
Yeah.
The reason why we thought it was good to have Vivian is that Vivian will tell you herself, but she had worked with the Nigerian government before coming to Switzerland. So she will be able to give us a very good background of little bit of the background of the government. Thank you, Vivian.
Yeah. We don't need to introduce Olive, we already know. Dr. Fulueta Lusungu Moyo is a leading expert in gender justice, intersectionality, ethics, and human rights, with extensive experience working at the intersection of culture, religion, and peace building. Trained mediator and specialist in trauma healing and active listening. Founder Tim Stream, gender ethics and human rights specialist. Am I right? Something like that. Good.
It's a Zulu.
This is Zulu.
But no.
No. Deborah Johnson, is she online? Is she here?
Deborah Johnson, yes.
Oh, yes. Great. Welcome. Deborah is a risk and resilience advisor, co-founder and director emeritus of Arise US. She's an advisor and co-founder of Arise US. She employs a systems approach to guide individuals, teams, and organizations to risk informed and opportunity-focused planning and decision-making that reduces the impacts of natural and human-caused hazards for communities and stakeholders while improving their combined resilience and sustainability. Welcome. And Vivian, I know Vivian, but she can introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Vivian Taufner. I used to Nigerian government, haven't for the last 3 years. I used to work though the Asset Management Corporation, Nigeria, as a governmental relations director. So happy to be here. I know about this project. It's been in the pipeline for a while, and I'm glad that you're here. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to go straight on to the questions. So private sector and NGO question. How can collaboration strengthen youth employment and mentorship? What role can organizations play in scaling programs informed by youth insights? And then the youth representative questions. Yeah, we can leave that. We'll leave that. We'll do those later. So if you can answer those, I'll say that. And yes, and Deborah, we haven't forgotten. Yeah.
So the question was, how can collaborations with civil society reduce unemployment and close gaps? I think
all right, go for it.
Okay, so it's I'm not it's making
probably your
is it? Okay, yeah, so I have 5 points, which I think maybe they cover everything in the questions. The first one is I'm very much interested in the whole question of gender for empowerment. I say for empowerment because we are talking about young people who are not like an empty slate. They have so much within them. So when you co-empower, you are actually just building on what they have. You are not putting in as if they are empty themselves. So for me, I think for my work also, because we are focusing on addressing human trafficking and also accompanying the survivors themselves, the promotion of gender for empowerment is a priority in that it empowers both women, men, and all the other genders involved. It also helps to break the gender stereotypes. And it encourages mutual support and creating safe space. So when you are doing this kind of empowerment, what you are doing is like for our organization, you make sure that you are intentional in employing young people. And so this whole idea of saying 5 years of experience does not work because it means it excludes the young people. The second one is the mentorship for at-risk youth that the Hesed World is really diving into. So it's important to actually establish sectoral mentorship initiatives. So pairing young women, young men with trained mentors who are also open to learn. I think for the children stream, the organization that I am part of, we talk about this kind of mentorship as a ferment. We use the method of ferment, not catalyst. Because a catalyst, you put a metal in a solution, the metal itself never changes, but everything else changes around it. While for a ferment, you put sugar in a cooking, like for my traditional people making beer. By the time it ferments, you can't separate the sugar from it because it also has changed. And then the third one is the partnership itself, which is very important. And the partnership for Team Let Us Stream, like when we are partnering with Hesed, we are not partnering with the Hesed as a funder and the Team Let Us Stream as a recipient, but we are partnering as so whether Hesed World brings money into the circle, the mental contribution and the expertise that we bring in, we do look at it as equal and mutual. It's not like you respect this is the fund and this is, because when the funding relationship is that hierarchical, usually the funded don't have a voice. And so we want to crush that kind of model. And the fifth, the last one that I want to talk about is the importance of piloting joint gender responsive programs. And so with Hesed World, we've really actually been looking at all these possibilities and the mentorship. We are involved because we know that at the end of the day, for me, I always ask the gender justice questions, like who is around the table? Not just any woman means that you have equal participation, because sometimes as a woman, I can be co-opted by patriarchy and advance the patriarchal agenda. But what type of woman, what type of man, what type of any participation do you have? Because most of the times we are very insensitive. I will go fetch a young woman who has no idea of what we are talking about as long as she's present for the photos. But I have a man who is a professor of whatsoever, and I bring them at the panel, and I think their participation, and honestly, it will not be equal. So everyone will recommend how the professor has been very brilliant. And this young woman will not even be recommended at the end of the day, as her confidentiality or her confidence to be so much destroyed. Thank you.
Deborah, if you're there, please.
Well, I'd like to pick up on a couple of things. And I think I would like to lead us maybe addressing this question, but coming at it maybe from a little bit of a different perspective. And that is that I think one of the things that is really going to be powerful in this mentorship to bring together, if you will, the mentees and the outcomes is really to think in terms of building a sense of real collaboration. That collaboration is so critical, I think, as kind of a baseline skill for the youth. And the good news is that recently, GlobeScan did a very large study on what countries' public affairs people are most concerned about. And what was very interesting is they looked at the concerns and then they asked them what the opportunities were. And only Africa rated collaboration in their very top position as an opportunity. And I think that that is really very powerful because right now we're all very connected. And so as we go into the mentorship program, I really strongly believe that one of the skills, I guess I'll call it, but one of the capabilities or the capacities that will also allow this to scale is if we are really ensuring that everyone understands that none of us do anything alone. And so building on our ideas, if we have an idea, typically we can't bring it forward by ourselves. And so thinking in terms of sort of the mentee cohorts as being part of a value chain around an idea, part of a value chain around a whole set of skills. This will be an interesting way of, I think, attracting mentors who can help impart that kind of knowledge and backstory, history, storytelling going forward. And so that's kind of a way of saying that I think I love the way that one of our presenters just talked about ferment versus catalyst. So imagine tackling one of the country's biggest issues around agriculture, for instance, and doing it with mentees who are all working on ideas for agriculture as a value chain and basically are all kind of learning together and sharing together. And I agree with Dale that mentoring also is a two-way street. The mentees are going to learn probably as much as the mentors are going to learn as much as the mentees in that relationship. And so again, I think, making sure that we're really instilling that idea that we are all working together and there's enough need for everyone to work toward bringing those ideas to fruition. Thank you.
Sorry about the interference. We had a young member of Hesed who wanted to be heard as part of the audience. Brilliant. Right.
So I'm just gonna.
Sorry. Okay. So the government questions is from Nigeria. How can collaborations with civil society platforms reduce unemployment and close skill gaps?
for Hesed. I think really working with CSO is usually very insightful because it provides, helps you identify community needs. You know, CSO tend to work with the grassroots. So they provide basically on-ground data on specific skill shortages and the needs of the vulnerable groups that are in those communities. CSOs also work directly with communities to understand their unique challenges. Yeah. So, but yeah, in general, I think that for Hesed, working with government, yeah. So working with, already there is a Ministry of Youth that covers youth initiatives. And Yvette, you're right to say one youth holding them accountable, you know, and more importantly, something Olivia said was key. The youth can sit down really and say for all they want that it's time for us to be participating or involved in a lot of things. But if you sit down, nobody's going to give it to you, you know. So you literally have to actively get into that space. I can tell you for a fact that, yes, I started in the government too when I was much, much younger. And to change policies on real estate, because we had a bad experience when we bought a house and it wasn't given to us, we paid up in full. But we had to literally come together, a bunch of young people, to go to the National Assembly and fight for a voice and ask that our houses be given to us. It led to a committee being formed to basically investigate the activities of real estate developers in Abuja. And this is just maybe 5 years ago. And all of us got our houses back. But what it also did was that it shed light on the gaps in policies there, right? So it's one thing for us to mentor, but like Dale said, mentorship is a two-way stream. Learning is a two-way stream. There is a lot of resource in Africa. In terms of human resource, in terms of capital, in terms of whatever kind of resource. So I think it's also a space, the mentorship that Hesed is bringing, I think it's also a good opportunity to ask people in those spaces to look inwards. Oftentimes we're looking outwards, and it's good. We can learn from a lot of things that are out there, but there's also a lot to learn inside. Our youths are not idle. In fact, they've made the most from really, really scrappy situations that have been left to them. But from a government perspective, because government is always like the big elephant sitting in the room, and especially if I think about the Nigerian government, is that you have to also demonstrate that you're not just there to eat the national pie. You have to come with your own initiatives. You have to really be there because you really want to see change, not be there because you want to make something fun.
I just wanted to add to what you said, because when I went to the Ministry of Youth and Development, I must say I was so shocked. They were very kind. It was, in terms of the initiative itself, they thought you left. Thank you for remembering us. Thank you for wanting to build your own. So we're going to have a partnership. We're actually working on a partnership with them right now. So I'm just saying that what I said is absolutely correct. Thank you so much. I need to bring Professor in. So can we get the academic perspective into this? And then the last person is the youth. And then, sorry guys, we just need another 10 minutes more. And then we'll do the survey and Margareta will come in and we'll wrap up. Okay, thank you. Can we get Professor to come in? Is Professor online? Naomi, can you verify if Professor is available? If not, we will go to then we'll go to the youth then. Okay, let's go to you.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Yes.
Hello. Okay.
Yes. Sorry, Kiki. Yes, I'm here.
Okay, excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you there? Can you talk?
Yes.
Right.
Go ahead, we're waiting.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I think I really appreciate what you're doing as a team. I've interacted with the Hesed World in the past, and I've been impressed by the work they are doing, especially touching on young people. I'm Professor Patrick Maluki, and I am a lecturer at the University of Nairobi, Kenya. And as a chair of the Department of Diplomacy and International Studies, I interact with young people, young girls, young boys, looking for their future, with a lot of uncertainty, optimism, and not really knowing what they should do. And in these states, that's when they need guidance. One of our responsibilities, the University of Nairobi, is mentorship, because many young people require guidance, they require encouragement, and they require, some skills, actually survival skills. So in my experience as a professor in a university, I found it very important when young people are equipped with actually soft skills, for example, personal representation, how you can knock into a door and ask for something that you want. You can just ask even for water, a glass of water. One of the problem with the young people is that majority feel intimidated, even by big offices, by big cars or even titles, such that they actually suffer from self-exclusion. So one of my advice, encouragement, is to ask young people to be optimistic, to exercise some bravery so that they are outgoing. You need to be a sort of extrovert so that you can knock doors. Of course, where I come from, we use Swahili language. And I don't mind teasing some Swahili here. We say, jitume, send yourself, be available. Because unless you are there, unless you are presented yourself, people may not know that you are in need. And so I found this aspect of being available very useful, because sometimes people have opportunities, but then you don't know whether there is a needy person, or in my capacity, I may get some opportunities. But unless I know there's a young lady, a young boy who needs help, I may not be able. So I think it's very important for young people to have the interpersonal skills of introducing themselves, making themselves available, just go to say hello, introduce yourself, and say who you are and what you do. And if you have a need, just say, I am looking for a job, or I do this, and I'm interested in this, and this is what I do. That has really helped. I can give examples of a few young people I really assisted because of coming out. Case in point, one girl just wrote an email to me, my official email, as a chairman of the department. She was inquiring about our courses. She said, I'm interested in studying the national studies at diploma level, and then go to bachelor's level. Yeah, and then she narrated what she had done, her qualification. But down the email, she said, I also want mentorship. So I read the email, I responded and informed her of the requirement for diploma programs, what you need to have attained in the secondary school. And then for the mentorship, I said, okay, for mentorship, then you may need to come personally to my office because it requires one-on-one engagement. That was actually the main reason for that email, because the girl was really at desperation. She was like giving up. So the next day, the girl was in my office. As I was getting out of the office, I saw that I wanted to see you. She was talking to my secretary. I said, who are you? Then she reminded of her name. We sat down in the office. What I discovered was a girl who really had reached, that point of complete despair. And then when I asked why, I said, oh, I don't have fees. My parents are old, they are retired. And now I'm actually reaching 31 years. Very, very true story. Then what's the problem? I said, okay, I failed. But when I looked at her transcript, her score was already, she had qualified for a diploma program. I said, but you can qualify for this. I said, really? Do I qualify? I said, yes, you are not asked. This is what, if this was to score, you qualify. Then she said, even if I qualify, nobody can pay school fees for me. I said, one thing at a time. Can you apply for this program? I've not asked you fees. She did the application, and actually she was admitted. I managed to make sure she was admitted because she was qualified. The issue of whether she had fees or not, that's a different issue. When she was admitted, I was able to mentor her, like go with her in conferences, seminars. I said, don't worry about fees, attend classes. And she was now able to interact with other students. She became happier, and she saw the value of life and sociability. I'll be honest to say that within 2 months, that girl received a bursary from one of the MPs because when she went with an admission letter from the university, she qualified for. It was a transformation. I'll be very honest. It was a transformation. And for me, had she not come out to really reach out to my office and say, this is who I am, this or that, she would have completely been a wasted girl today. But she's now doing her studies. So what am I trying to say? That it is very important for young people to find time, introduce themselves, make yourself available, go for internship, attachment, whether for pay or not for pay, build your network. These are very important survival skills, and through them, you can really, find opportunity and advance yourself. Okay. Another important skill, or rather, aspect that is important for younger people empowerment, and I've seen that also in my office. One of my students, a lady, was a banker, and she was a bank teller. And so she used to go, but this girl did masters with us. Through the courses, she opened up and realized that being a bank teller is not the best kind of employment. Because she said, whether I do my masters now or even I do PhD, I'll still remain a bank teller. There is no growth in this career. There's no growth. And lucky enough, she realized when it was good time for her to really make change. So she discussed that issue. I'm disturbed with this, my state of affairs. I'm working, but this job has no growth, there's no development. Because even if I get my master's, I will not be promoted to a higher level than where I am. She decided to change her career. And then I said, what can you do? This lady was willing to try new things, anything that is possible. And we tried. I ran an NGO. I told her, okay, what I can do for you, I'll give you this NGO. Work with it. We don't have funding now, but you can use the title of a CEO. So I appointed a CEO of poverty eradication and community empowerment. And this lady took this opportunity very seriously. She made a very big, very good business cards, so and so, CEO, this organization. And she started reaching out to UNDP, UN Women. In Nairobi, we have UN offices. And she was able to really go and hold meetings. That provided big opportunity for this lady. And within 6 months, 1 year, I think 1 year range, she actually landed in a job in South Africa, a Côte, right? A Côte is a philanthropic organization in South Africa, offered her a job as a program officer. That was her path to growth. She left the banking job. She went to South Africa, and that opened many other opportunities. She worked there for another 6 months, 1 year. She was employed by UN and taken to Pakistan. She stayed in Pakistan for some. Now, as we speak, she is working with the United Nations in South Sudan. So these are true reflection and true accounts of how young people can transform their lives. There's a lot of opportunity, but you must be available. You must be brave. You must try this. You must actually, be determined to succeed.
Thank you, Professor. We have
so I think with those
very
reflections, I
useful
can stop.
example. So anyway, we just go to the last person. So Ollie, quick.
No, I'm done. No, I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, I think I'll just make it brief. But one of the key points I wanted to bring is also the fact that we are living in a world where today our generation is no longer we're not expecting to stay in one job 30, 40 years. So meaning that we need to ameliorate our skills consistently and always be willing to relearn, unlearn, reskill, upskill. And this is of vital importance, particularly for those of us in the continent who are seeking opportunities of growth, to also recognize that that growth, like the professor was saying, is not just going to come to you. You have to also show initiative, be proactive, and also cultivate a creative spirit as well, to recognize that certain opportunities don't yet exist, meaning that you have to also create them. And in that process of creating, like with Hesed World, you find out that other people have similar interests and they want to also support that. And finally, I would then bring it back to my approach, which is more on the ethical governance of AI. This is a field that, from a multi-stakeholder perspective, is lacking majority of the global majority perspective, in this case, the former global south, if we're too technical. And what tends to happen is majority of the designers, especially who are designing AI and deploying it, they are centered from a Western approach. And so if we want to have an inclusive AI governance framework, we need to recognize that our voices, particularly from the African continent, we have to take that proactive action and that proactive stance by bringing in African ethics, and especially when we're having forums like you had the AI for Good Summit that took place here in Geneva. You had the AI Policy Summit at ETA Zurich. These events are taking place, but we have to show up there. And it's very, like for me, I'm being proactive. I attend it because I'm interested in this field. But this is something that the opportunities are there, the avenues are there, but we have to take that step forward to actually be active in it and present. So that's all I wanted to add. And thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to hand over to Kiki now. Sorry about that.
So we do have a video, just a quick video, very quick video, and then we will do the kind of the survey. Just going to be for 5 minutes or so. And then after that, we will invite Margareta to come, and then we say a few words of closing, and that's it. And then we want to do a photo op, please, because it does signify a big moment. So thank you very much for your patience, everybody. We're just going to play the video. So just bear with us 1 second. Thank you.
Sorry. So, sorry, guys. This one's getting me online. Sorry. Just sorry about that. Listen. Hi, everyone. So sorry.
Okay, we can see now.
Okay, sorry, everyone. Just didn't know of my feedback.
Global mentors launch hundreds to thousands of youth-led enterprises. Hesed World is not just preparing youth for the future, we're preparing the world for a youth-led future. Will you build that future with us? Generations united, change ignited.
Okay, thank you very much. So,
We need to move on. So can I please invite Mada to take us through the survey? And before that, we do have a QR code for everyone to be able to get access to that survey. I'm just going to share it with you. 1 second, please. Okay, can you get the QR code? And that way you get access to the mentorship survey. And I want to say something before. It's important to know that a lot of work has gone into it. I've never seen so many people work tirelessly to make this a possibility. For all those who are involved, you already more or less acknowledge the report itself. But I also want to challenge us here. Please read it, give us feedback, okay? And let's co-create together. Thank you very much. Okay, so then we will now go to the actual Mada. Are you ready? No, Mada?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Okay, I'll stop now. I'll stop sharing. Okay, over to you, Mada.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Greetings from wherever we are. My name is Nalikule, and I'm the focal point person for Malawi, and I'm also leading the monitoring and evaluation team for Hesed World. I'll take you through the background of the mentorship survey. Sorry. I'll be taking you through the overview of the mentorship survey, which was recently conducted. Sorry, can you see? It's not moving.
see it? Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not easy because Miss from Malawi, we get this as part of our energy. Okay. Do you want me to? Sure. Okay.
All right. Okay, so the mentorship survey, which was recently conducted, formed the foundation for the development and rollout of the Hesed World's mentorship program, which is under our youth and empowerment leadership pillar in our strategic framework. This survey was conducted as a strategic evidence building exercise designed to help us understand the specific needs, aspirations, and challenges of the young people that we intend to serve, as well as the capacity, interests, and motivations of the mentors across our participating countries, which are Malawi, Nigeria, and Kenya. the insights that will be generated from this survey are very crucial because they're going to help us design the mentorship model, shape our internal program frameworks, and inform how we engage our partners or our donors and ensure that we're aligned with Hesed World's broader vision. Mainly, the report is intended for the core team of Hesed World. We also have the advisory council and other partners and development stakeholders and program design units, which are responsible for translating these insights into actions.
Ada?
Apologies, I think my network is really bad.
Okay. Yeah. You want
Okay, our objectives, our survey was guided by clearly defined objectives. First, we aimed to generate reliable and evidence-based insights that will strengthen the design of the mentorship program itself. And secondly, we sought to understand the lived realities of mentees. Like, we just wanted to understand their challenges, their priority needs, skills gaps, and any other areas where they may require support. So on the mentor side, the survey helped us to assess the strengths, capacities, and readiness to support youth development. We're also going to use the survey to determine the most appropriate structure and delivery format for the mentorship model. And finally, our goal was also to ensure that every component of the mentorship framework is aligned with Hesed World's long-term strategic outlook. So in terms of methodology, the survey employed a mixed method of data collection. The majority of responses were obtained through an online self-administered questionnaire, which was distributed via the Hesed World Network, WhatsApp platforms, and we also used other partner institutions to send the questionnaire out. In addition to that, we also had data manually collected, particularly in Malawi, in the rural areas, in Dowa and Chisi districts, where we managed to collect data from 16 respondents. This exercise ensured that the voices from the less connected communities were also represented in the survey. So the data was collected for a period of approximately 3 weeks, not just a month. But after we collected the data, before the analysis, the data set went through a rigorous cleaning process where duplicate entries were removed. We had some incomplete responses and we had to flag them out and decide what to do with them. We also had categorical variables, so they had to be standardized for consistency. And some of the questions that were administered were open-ended, so we had to thematically code them so that we can capture deeper insights into the youth experiences and their needs. Since some of the questions weren't really, we couldn't really convert them into numbers, so that's why we had to use the thematic coding. So our analytical approach used both quantitative and qualitative analysis. So we had single response questions and multiple response questions also. So in terms of the single response questions, which turned into indicators, they were presented as percentages, which were basically proportions within the respondent sample as the survey. It was an open distribution survey. Whereas the multiple response indicators, such as mentorship. We'd ask them, what are your expectations to this mentorship program? So the percentages were calculated based on the number of responses rather than number of respondents themselves, so that we could provide an accurate view, since the data was sort of overlapping. In terms of the qualitative analysis, like I mentioned earlier, this one, we had to use the thematic codes, since most of the data could not be captured numerically.
Ada, can I ask you to speed it up? Unfortunately, I'm so sorry, because we ran out of a lot of time. So maybe
Okay, my apologies. I'm just going to go through some of the data. I'm not going to highlight everything that we found. Most of the details will be found in the survey, which Kiki shared. She shared the link to download the survey online. So these are just the age profiles of the mentees and mentors. Among the mentees, most of them were within the age range of 22 to 25, which had a representation of 42%. And for the mentors, most of them were within the age range of 25 to 35, which had a presentation of 32%. In terms of country profiles for the mentees, this was only administered to the mentees. So we had 42% from Malawi, mostly because of the physical data collection activity. And we had 39% from Nigeria, 17% from Kenya, 1% from the United States and Nigeria. So for Kenya, we also conducted a supplementary survey, which we are calling the Student Voices Survey. I'm just going to talk about it briefly. But basically, this was the representation that we got from the survey. So the preferred mentorship formats as well by mentors, most of them preferred online mentorship and were flexible, like to offer the mentorship on demand, while the mentees mostly preferred to have a one-on-one mentorship type, followed by a hybrid format. So this is the student voices survey that I was talking about, which it was used to address the gap that we had with the lower response rate that we got from Kenya. So we conducted a supplementary student voices survey during the JQuad 2025 debate and public speaking tournament. It allowed us to broaden the representation, particularly among university students who hopefully may later become part of the mentorship pipeline. So the survey just captured key indicators such as the age, genders, their previous exposure to mentorship programs, and the major challenges that they faced as students in their academic and personal development journeys. So we also captured other data such as their willingness to join Hesed World, which was good because most of them suggested that they are willing to join. So these are just some of the key challenges that they stated. Most of these details about the data can be found in the report. I'm just going through some brief highlights of the survey report itself. So in conclusion, the mentorship survey offers a strong evidence base for the design and forthcoming implementation of the mentorship program, and the findings show a clear and urgent demand for a structured mentorship program. So respondents underscored mentorship as a key pathway to strengthen their confidence, networks, and skills, and a more professional outlook. But at the same time, it also reveals a critical need that must be built into the program framework itself, particularly comprehensive mentor preparation, training, structured communication systems and all that. So the data that we have is going to help us guide us. It's going to guide us in how we can go about all those nitty-gritties and how we can deliver the mentorship program itself. So there were a few recommendations that we came up with based on the data that we got from the survey itself. So some of the recommendations include strengthening the mentor capacity and establishing a robust program support systems. We also recommended that we need to enhance youth engagement and build structured career development pathways and institutionalize strong monitoring and evaluation and accountability structures to support long-term growth. These findings and recommendations, they now position us to proceed confidently within the next phase, which is designing and implementing a mentorship program that is responsive, inclusive, and transformative for the youth that we are planning to serve. Thank you. This is the end of my presentation. I hope that we're gonna have a thorough look at the actual report itself so that we can dive deeper into what it's telling us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mada. And I have to congratulate you. Mada has been working very hard on this. Thank you so much. So now, the grand finale, as they say. Can I get, is Margaret Wongstrom online, please? Issues. Margareta, can you take?
Are you allowing me to unmute now? Yes.
Yes, you can unmute, please. Oh yeah, we can hear you now.
You can hear me, but you can't see me, eh?
We can't see you, so I'm trying to see. Oh, now I see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Well, I realize you are a little bit delayed, so I will not. Enter into any speech, but I would really like, since Kiki has given me the honor of doing the formal launch of Hesed World, and you have spent the last almost 3 hours, I think, in very interesting conversations. I've listened to most of it, and I think, Kiki, there is a wealth of learning, good ideas, and wise comments that have made to you to cash in on as contributions to future work, I think. So I will mention a couple of things that I think are important takes away when we move into the world that the excellent work of Kiki, Michelle, Mada, and all the colleagues have created with the support of the board and Ambassador Stevens. And first of all, I'd like to say that I think actually Kiki herself is an excellent example of most of the things that you have mentioned as necessary to do. She's mobilized her network from many years back. She remembered what different people knew, what they could contribute, and she managed to engage them. She's really hard driving. And I listened to Professor Patrick on his advice to young people: make yourself available, don't sit and wait, be outgoing, as he called it, survival skills. I think, Kiki, you represent all these things excellently well. So I'm sure all your friends will agree with that. So just a few highlights that came out that I think, with all this work that we are doing, I think Amjad and others mention it, we must keep in mind all the time, and I think you saw it reflected here in the mentorship survey, the daily reality of what many of these young people that we are talking about, they are a large group, but they are also individuals and persons It's unemployment challenges. It's a really sense of uncertainty, as Patrick said. Sometimes a fear and a sense of helplessness, almost hopelessness in the face of daily and not enough optimistic hope for the future. I think Patrick also say. So that is one aspect that we must, I think it's a commitment, but it's also an obligation not to put that aside as we move along. The second point that I think Sarah was the one who mentioned really the need for protect person's dignity, the affirmation and care about emotional safety in whatever we do. And I think that's, also that can easily become a barrier if persons feel that their dignity is undermined. I also like the idea of calling the conversations necessary multi-generational dialogues, because the reality of our world is, of course, that families are dispersed and all the time we have to establish new relationships. And every new relationship is an opportunity across generational barriers, but it's perhaps not as easy as dealing with our traditional and much more close relationships. I think we do have, and that will remain an issue, a challenge of representation and voice. I think Amjad was quite hard on the conversation we are having here and the relevance that it has for possibly the group of persons that we consider as the ones that we would like to collaborate with. And finally, one of you, I apologize for not really being very clear on, so I will not make a mistake. I will not mention who I think said it. The hierarchy that plays out between us who represent organizations and maybe sometimes represent money, how we need to be responsible for minimizing the impact of that hierarchy in what we do. And in our daily life, I think all of us, we mentor somebody, and we need to be mindful and nurture these daily relationships and mentorships that we have. And as I think both Dale and Deborah highlighted, mentorship is never a one-way street. It's always a two-way, a multi-way sometimes street where we are all learning along the way. And finally, really, I would like to copy or borrow a slogan that was, I think, picked up by the women's movement a long time ago, which is basically no decision about us without us. So make sure that the table is full of persons that really can represent themselves. And with that, Kiki, so many nice things have been said about you. So I can only add to that and support it and thank all the people that have engaged with you in a year and a half or so. And encourage them to stick with you now. Don't abandon this enterprise that has just been launched. It's just in the beginning. It's years to come of hard work and talking with Kiki as much as she needs. So with that, you've seen that there is a roadmap. You've seen that there are highly ambitious goals on how to launch the community engagement and the global engagement. So with that, I consider that the Hesed World has been officially launched. I'm afraid I don't have any back, but good luck.
Thank you so much, Margareta. You brought tears to my eyes because Margareta has been
a mentor indeed. When, sometimes you don't even know where the help will come from. I remember Margareta, I had a dispute with one of the colleagues, and she saw us having a whatever. She said, "You guys, you're still here and you're still fighting? I don't understand that." And then we went to her room, and then she kind of sat us down and said, "So what's the problem?" And she was, talking to both of us. And the other lady was obviously, she's a lawyer, she was proving her point, whatever the case was. And when she left, my reader turns to me and said, "You see, Kiki, you can't change someone's position. That is a position, right? But make sure that whatever you do it well." On top of it, she's a lady who will go and wash plates. And even though she was a special representative of the Secretary General of the UN, and Margareta, I just want to honor you because you really made UN older and learning, make it real. Thank you so much for being such a great mentor to me. And you always said, pass it on. So I'm hoping that I'm passing it on to others as well. So thank you so much, Margareta. I appreciate you very much. So in closing, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. But also I want to remember my sister, the firstborn of the chief Obelawa's family. And, she's a pastor, she's here. She came all the way from Côte d'Ivoire just to be here with me today. So could you come up and say hello? And I know you saw her, but she's a great woman of faith. And on top of that, honestly, what she does for the youth, for the prostitutes, you have to come and see for yourself. Really, I just want to appreciate you. God bless you. I love you so much. Thank you for being here to support me. I want to say thank you, and especially to Margareta. Thank you very much for being there for Kiki right from the beginning. We can see your input in her, and that's why we can say, indeed, that you have done a great job, and we can see the evidence. You can see older generation passing it on to younger one and younger one passing on to the next, so this continues. Thank you very much for what you have been doing, not just with UN, but to humanity. I really appreciate you. And I want to thank everyone here for coming. To me, today, I was going to say Jody, I'm so proud to see my baby sister leaving UN and engaging in something like this, and today it has become a reality. I want to give all the glory to the Lord who has inspired her and has always been there for her. And she's such a dynamic woman, right from youth. We knew she was going somewhere. And to me, this is not a surprising, it's just call for thanksgiving to the Lord who has made it possible. Kiki, we are proud of you. On behalf of the family, we are so proud. God bless you. Thank you. Ambassador Stephen, do you want to use? And then we said, we want to actually have a picture for everybody here. We're just going to have a group picture and then we'll go. Well, I think that it's all been said. And Margareta summed it up perfectly. Kiki has drive. She has moved all of us, got us all involved. We are involved and we are here. Future, we are here to make it work. So I want to thank everybody who has contributed today, the discussions, thank our MC for the occasion, and of course, thank everybody from the background there with good food and all. So thank you all very much. I said what team? And of course, the Hesed World team. Yeah. I must say that I'm most impressed. I don't know how the team came together. Every time that they post something, I said, wow, these are dedicated people working so hard. And I'd like to acknowledge them, to thank them for actually
Thank you, everyone. So we're going to have a group picture. So if some of you want to be there, you can actually have your camera on, and then we're just going to gather around. We've got our okay. So can you come around, and then we just do a group picture together. Nothing. Someone also take. Yes, yes. No, our team is going to do that. They're going to do that. I'm just looking for the cameraman. Enough? Okay. Okay, please come round. There they go. Yes, so can you just do it? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Please come in. So we're going to do a group picture all together. Let's see.
Over here?
Yeah.
You want to-
Oh. Yeah. Oh, both sides. Okay.
Il va falloir quand même se serrer après. Prends déjà les deux parties. I'm sorry, I take picture both sides.
We put in Hesed on the toit. Hesed.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay, right. Okay. On the toit. Hesed.
Yeah. Now.
On the
Look,
toit.
Hesed. And now together, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Actually. Yeah. It's already. Okay.
Encore, c'est. Encore. Oh non. Ah, c'est. Dernière. Allez. 1, 2, 3. Ouais.
We try.
Send me too. Next.